Hi guys, welcome. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in today. We are going to be having our second training, which is going to be Arive Intermediate Training. So today we'll be going over each application. We'll be going over the application startup, the 1003 tabs, and specifics that are needed for each loan type. I ask, please hold all questions till the end. We will have a 10-minute time slot for all questions. And if there's any questions regarding pricing, please hold those off for your trainings with Holly. Thank you guys. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. Also, I have dropped in the chat. It's an outline for today's training. So if you want to open that up and follow it along, just so you know what we're going through.
Can you resend it, please? I don't see it in the chat.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you see it now, Hortensia?
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right, everyone. So here we have up our 1003, our Arive file. This is our test file that we'll be working throughout the rest of the training. We want to start off by, let's kind of recap what we went over last week. We went over the dashboard tab, the loans tab, the leads tab. We did a quick glance at the pricing tab. We went over the contacts tab, the reports tab, and we also went over the support, the Arive chat support. We did a quick run through of the 1003 and all of the Arive tabs in the file itself. So today, like I said, we're going to be doing application startup, 1003 tab overview, and required fields for the specific loan types. With that being said, for application startup, the first thing we're going to go over is how to invite your borrower and sending them the invite. Okay, this is gonna, when we send the invite to our borrower, this is gonna give them the option to create a portal in their own account. They'll be able to fill out the full 1003 application. We'll be able to send them client needs, so any documents that we need them to upload prior to pre-approval, we can get those immediately, and it's just all done through the portal. We're not going to go too much into all of that today. We're just going to go over how to invite them. It's a very simple process. If you go into the loan file itself, so you're in your file, we're in our test file. This is my borrower. Right underneath, if you can see my cursor, right underneath it says invite borrower. It also says it right over here in blue. It doesn't matter which one you can click whichever one. So if I select it, it's going to pull up this screen here. You're going to want to select all of the borrowers that you wish to invite. So if you have multiple borrowers, you want to make sure you check all of these little boxes. So you're going to select all of the boxes, and we're going to select send invite. Perfect. So now our borrower has been invited. If you would like to see what that looks like on their end, just so when you're explaining the process to them, I'm going to go ahead and show you on my email. I sent it to myself. Give me one sec. Let me change the screen share. Okay, you can all see my email, correct? Just so that, okay, perfect. All right. So right here, you can see that I got the email notification. This is going to be, it's going to look like it's coming from the loan officer. So it would have your name here. Blake is listed as a loan officer on this file. So if we open it up, It's also going to CC him. So you will be on the email as well. You'll see it come across. It's just going to say this is a um, it says the same thing every time. It's just going to say complete my loan application. Hello, Tess. Thank you for applying with 21st Century Lending. Please click the secure link to create your account and complete your loan application online. So if we click that complete my loan application button, what's going to happen is you're going to see it come across like this. So they'll have to create an account. I already have an account, so I'm just going to sign it. Oh, okay, so once we're all signed in, it's going to look like this. The first tab will be the loan details. This is where they're going to go through and they're going to fill out all the details of the application. The next tab down is going to be their tasks list. So as soon as they complete all of the loan details, it's going to give them tasks. So they're going to have to upload all of these documents. All the documents will be in pending tasks. And once they upload them, it will be in completed or in review tasks. They can upload more documents that are not requested in the task list in this screen here. So that's pretty much it. Once they do all of that, it will automatically notify you. You'll get an email once any documents have been uploaded. Once their loan application has been filled out, you will get an email update. So that is how the borrowers can be invited and how they can fill out their application. So let me change my screen share once again back to our loan file. All right, so we're going to just pretend like the borrower has just filled out this application and we are running through the application now and making sure everything's up to date and everything's correct so we can send it over to processing. The next thing we want to do immediately is we want to order credit because we don't want to waste our time going through this whole file if their credit isn't worthy to qualify. Okay, so from there, once we get this file, we've gotten this far. We're going to go to any of these three tabs here. Have this little button in the corner, order credit. So we're going to click this order credit button. Now it's going to pull up which borrowers it's going to pull up all the borrowers. So if you have multiple borrowers, it will show up down below. We're going to select the borrower and we're going to select order credit. In the top right hand corner, it says your credit accounts. If you wanted for some reason to pull a soft pull, you have the option to do so. Mine doesn't list soft pull, but if you select in your user settings, which we went over last week, you can select on your credentials tab to allow soft pulls. So it would give you that option here. Otherwise, if you're going to do a hard pull, you're just going to leave it as is. And we're going to select new credit order, and it's always going to stay with merge current liabilities with credit report liabilities. This is going to cancel out if you had already, if they had already listed some of their own liabilities in their application, it's going to cancel out it's going to correct all the liabilities. So you won't have duplicates or anything like that. Then you're going to select pay by credit card. This is where you're going to enter in whether it's the borrower's, if you're using the borrower's card and you have a credit card authorization, you can enter in the information here. Or if you're paying for the credit report, you can enter in your card information here. Once you do that, you'll click save and you will just select this little blue order credit button. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Before you pull the credit though, as you can see, it says right now, credit consent September 3rd. It's because we have been working out of this file, so I already credit consented, but it's going to ask you before you even have the option to order the credit that the borrowers did consent to ordering credit. So just it's the same process. You're going to select the borrower and then you're going to click consent and then you're going to select this again and then you're going to click order credit. And that's it. Then the borrowers, all their liabilities are going to import, their FICO is going to import, everything's going to import from that credit report, and the credit report will go directly into your documents tab right here, and you can send it to them for reference if needed. So once that's completed, now we're ready to go. We can go through our 1003 and make sure that everything's checked off, everything's correct, any of the required fields that are needed to send this file over are completed. Our number one thing we want to make sure is that while we're going through this, that there is absolutely no red. We don't want any red left over. If you see here, like it's red right here, there's a little exclamation mark. All of on the side here, it shows red. So we want to work through the file until it shows a blue check mark on each side. So let's go ahead and go through it. For the loan and property screen, this is the first screen we're going to work out of. This is going to be the screen that has to do with the loan itself and the property, the subject property. So let's just start from top to bottom. So we have our purchase price already listed in there. We have our appraised value already listed in there, our down payment amount, our base loan amount. We don't need to touch any of that. Everything's correct there. If we scroll on down, everything looks good here. You just want to double, triple check everything. It's a fixed rate. This is the rate we want to go with. And oh, here's some red. So I see the subject property address isn't listed in there, which is perfectly fine. Before we send this file over to processing, we actually want to just leave it as to be determined if it's a purchase because we don't want to trigger TRID. So we're just going to select this little switch here that says to be determined, and this is going to change it to a TBD. From there, the disclosing team, the processing team, they'll go into the file and they will enter in the address once we're ready to get this file moving. We just want to make sure that we aren't triggering any TRID. It's not going to trigger disclosures. You don't have to worry about that. It's just for our own audit that we want to make sure that TRID is matching up with the lender that we're going with. So we have that good to go, and we're going to keep on going down. One thing I want to note, it's never going to be entered in, but this is a required field that must be entered in for when we send it over to the lender. So the year built for the subject property. So we want to do an AVM check. We can click that little blue button there. It's going to pull up our property. Let's just pretend it's this one because there's not a real property listed. It's to be determined. So we'll just pretend it's this one for now. And we're going to go through. Okay, it's built in 1980. So let's go back to our file and we'll enter in 1980. And we want to make sure it is indeed a single family. We're good there. So nothing else, everything else looks good here. We don't need to worry about any of this information. Don't feel the need to fill out any of this. You don't need to fill out any of this. So we're good with that. Let's scroll back up to the top and there's still some red here. So HOI and property taxes. This proposed monthly payment box is going to be crucial for you for quoting your borrower what their PITI is going to look like. Obviously, it's not going to be 100% accurate until we get into underwriting and we're conditionally approved. Like we know exactly what the numbers are going to look like. This is more so just an estimate, hence the word proposed. But we can always we're always safe with if you want to just put in 2,400 annually, you can change this to annual. That gives us that we're overestimating the HOI just in case for some reason it is higher. In California, there's the chance it may be higher than 2,400. So just to be safe, entering in 2,400 is the perfect number. For property taxes, this one's super easy. All you need to do is in this little box right here where my cursor is, it says is calculated. So we want to flip this switch to yes, and it's always going to be 1.25%. So we just want to enter in 1.25 and that's going to calculate our monthly property taxes for us. Now we are good to go. Our property, if we go back, it does not have an HOA, so we're good there. We don't need to enter in any association dues. And this is not an FHA, so we have no MI. So we are good there. So we can save this. All of the red is gone on this page. And you would think that we can move forward, but one thing I want to note, which we're going to go into more detail later on in the next couple trainings, is this purchase credits. And I'll show you exactly, if you're not familiar, if you're a brand new loan officer, you don't know where to get this information from. If this is a purchase, if there's an EMD or seller credit, we'll go through that at a different time. But I just want to notate, make sure that you have this entered in when you're filling out this application. It's not going to be it's not going to show as a quote unquote required field, but it is required because this is what is going to give us the closest estimate amount for funds to close. So you're quoting your borrower correctly. So if there is an EMD, you want to make sure you enter that in. And if there is seller credit, you want to make sure you enter that in just in here. It's very simple to do, and we'll go through that at a different time. So we are good on this page. Let's go ahead and move on to borrower info. Okay, so as you can see, we have some red here. This page is just going to be all of your borrower's personal information. So their social security number, their date of birth, their name, if they have any dependents, their email, their phone number, all of that good stuff. On this, you do want to double, triple check that your information is correct. The borrower sometimes, when they're filling out the application, they may enter in, their name and then their last name. Sometimes they put in a suffix. If the way that it's listed on their driver's license is not how it's listed here on the application, how they filled it out, just make sure you correct it. So whatever it says on their driver's license is what you're going to want to make sure is listed here for their name. And make sure their social security number is correct with their social security card, that their date of birth is correct, that they are indeed a US citizen, that they are indeed married. This is for sure a required field. We do need to know if they're married or not. So that all. It looks good there to me. Let's move on down. We do have red here. Minimum 2 years of address history is required. This is always a requirement, so please make a note of this. I will be mentioning it multiple times throughout the trainings. This is crucial, making sure we have 2 years minimum address history. Here, it looks like the borrower only entered in 1 year. So this is when we would want to get in contact with our borrower and find out, where did you live previously? We need 2 years. So for the sake of this training, let's just pretend I did call them and they told me that they were renting. And they were renting here for $2,500 a month, and they were renting this place for 3 years. Perfect. Now we're good to go there. You can see that immediately took away that red. And then you just want to go through the rest of these is just going to be declarations and making sure that they filled out the declarations correctly. This is also really important because sometimes the borrower will enter it, like accidentally click yes on something. So just make sure that this is indeed correct. Like if they accidentally selected that they foreclosed, that's a huge problem. We want to make sure that that's correct, that if they really actually did foreclose, that that's right. And if they didn't, make sure it says no. So just running through the declarations, making sure they're correct, and running through their all of their demographics. It's pretty straightforward. I don't think I need to go over that. So looks like we're good on this page. Let's go ahead and select Save Changes. Perfect. We got a blue check mark on borrower info, so now we can move on to financial info. So as you can see, there's plenty of red on this page. We have another huge one. Minimum 2 years of employment history is required for the test file. So 2 years of employment history and 2 years of address history. Make note of that. Super important. We do not want to get a file and once it gets to if it gets to processing and it's missing this, like if you send it over to submissions, we're going to immediately kick it back. We're going to send it right back to you. So to save time, just make sure that it is listed, that this is not red and this isn't listed there as that it's missing employment history and address history. So again, let's just pretend we called the borrower. We noticed that we were missing another year of, it looks like we're missing 0.30 of a year, so it's probably a couple months. So we called the borrower and they let us know that they were working somewhere else. So let's just say all of this has to be filled out, employer contact number, the street, the employer address. This doesn't come up red, but this needs to be completed. You guys, I'm just gonna put a random address. Okay, start date. The borrower told me that they started in January 3rd of 2017 and they left January of 2023. Oops. Perfect. Oh, the income. I was going too quick and they were making 5,000 a month. Okay, so now we're good there. We have gotten rid of that red and we have plenty of employment history now. Let's go ahead and move on down. As you can see, the next one is assets. So currently the borrower listed that they have 50,000 in their checking account. Up here, if you can see my cursor way at the top, it says FTC. That means funds to close. And it's saying that we need $136,856.73. So we're clearly not cutting it. We need plenty of more funds to close. So again, let's pretend I called the borrower and they let me know that they are going to be getting a gift from their parent of 150,000 and it is non-deposited. We always want to make sure that they don't deposit it in their account because we want to make sure this is all done at closing. And we'll save. Great. So now we're good. We've got plenty of funds to close just in case. So we're good. Moving on down, we're going to see the liability screen. So this is where all of the liabilities from the credit report are going to transfer over. And we have a mortgage listed here. Looks like they already own a property and like one credit card. It's a huge credit card, but okay. Mortgage. For the mortgage, as you can see, it's red here. It says select REO address. So in this one, we're going to want to link our mortgage liability to our REO, which if you didn't know means real estate owned. So the current property that they own. So we're going to select the address here because that's listed in our REO history. And everything else looks good. This is a purchase, so we're not going to be paying off. We're not going to be omitting it, nothing like that. So we can save this. And that's gonna clear our red right there. Now let's just say that this borrower wanted to pay off this credit card at closing. If that was the case, all you would need to do is select right here, this little checkbox will be paid off. That's going to show it as being paid off. So it's going to be paid and it's going to be paid at closing. If for some reason, let's say, just for example, that we had 1 month remaining on this debt, say they owe 625, we'd want to omit this and we'd want to put in the description the reason for the omission is less than 10 months. If the liability was derogatory and you want to omit it, so you want to select that it's derogatory, select that it's omitted. Make sure whenever you're omitting something, because it doesn't tell me why it's being omitted, I can usually get the gist if it's like says 1 month, and I'll usually be looking at the credit report too, so I can see if it's derogatory. But just to save some time, just put in this little box right here the reason for the omission, so why you're omitting it. Okay. So that's good. I'm actually not going to omit this. Okay, perfect. So we're good with the liabilities. Real estate owned. So this is our REOs. So we're going to go into this just to make sure because I see some red here. It's just because of the PITI, but just going in here, making sure everything's good. We have the address listed, we have the property type, our proposed usage. So they use this as a second home. They're retaining this. If they were going to be selling, you would change it to pending sale. If it was already sold, you change it to sold. You want to make sure you have the correct current market value listed. And we're missing something here, current usage, second home. So the proposed usage is second home, but the current usage is second home. So we want to save that. And we are linked. Let me open that up really quick again so you could see. This also it shows you once again that you are linked. Your REO is linked to your liability. So we are good there. Save, and we are good now. We have all three tabs have blue check marks. So we are good with that. That is our 1003, and it's a quick little run through of the 1003. Obviously, you can see that we still have some red here. We're not going to be going into any of this today. This will be in our next training on next Monday, so stay tuned for that. We're going to be moving on to some things that I want to go over that still has to do with the 1003. So there are required fields and specific tabs that have to be filled out in the 1003 depending on the loan type. So we're going to do a little couple mock loans really quick together, just so you can kind of see what that would look like. So let's go back to the top, back to loan and property. Now, if the loan was a FHA, we'd have it selected as FHA here. And let's save the changes. Okay, so you're going to see, oh, yep. You're going to see it's automatically going to pop up another tab on the 1003, and it says FHA loan and it's red. So that means we have things that we need to fill out here. So we're going to select it, and there's two that are going to be red, and these are the two that are important. This triggers AUS, so we want to make sure that this is always completed. Always, always, always. You will get an approved ineligible on AUS if this is not done correctly and if it's not done. So section of the act, this is basically, it's going to ask you what type of FHA loan this is. So if it's just your basic FHA, purchase or refi, if it's a purchase rehab, so a rehabilitation purchase, if it's a 251 purchase rehab, so an ARM, if it's a condo, or if it's a condo ARM. So these are all going to be selections here. The other ones aren't as common, but it's probably most likely going to be 203B, which is just our basic program purchase or refi. So we're going to select that, and positive rental history. Now, your borrower, when purchasing an FHA home, needs to have positive rental history. If you have questions on positive rental history, what that is, what that looks like, please direct those questions to Blake. I know the answer, but I don't want anyone to get the wrong answer or get confused, and I just want to make sure it gets delivered correctly. So if you have questions on positive rental history, please direct those questions to Blake. He will be happy to help you with that. So we're going to select yes. we want it to say yes. With an FHA loan, it needs to be yes. So we're going to save changes. Perfect, and we're good to go. So now you can see we have a blue check mark on FHA. We're good there. We can move on. So that's FHA, super simple, super easy. Just make sure that this FHA loan tab is filled out and completed. You don't need to worry about any of the other things, just the two that were red. Perfect. Now let's go back to loan and property. And now we're going to go over VA. VA has a couple things that are absolutely crucial and need to be completed before sending this loan over to processing. So we're going to select VA. We're going to save the changes. And what you're going to see is it's going to change our loan and property screen to red again, and it's going to add a VA loan tab. So the first thing we want to make sure that we have filled out is this little box right here where it says VA info. So we're going to open that up, and it says VA status type. Really quick, all this information for the VA info you can get from the COE. And if you don't know what that means, it's Certificate of Eligibility. The COE is pulled through the WebLGY, and the processing department can pull that for you if needed. You just let us know if you need a COE, and we'll be happy to order that, and we'll get that right over to you so you can make sure you have all this information in correctly. So the VA status type, whether they're in active service, they're a veteran, or they're non-active Reserve National Guard. For this one, let's say they are a veteran. And then it's going to ask you VA first time use. This one is going to automatically populate first time use, but it is important because it affects pricing. So you want to make sure this is correct. So on the COE, it will tell you subsequent use or first time use. For this one, we're going to say it's subsequent use. And then VA service disability. So whether they're disabled or not, we're going to say yes. If they're disabled, they're always going to be exempt from the funding fee. So what that means is through the VA, they have a funding fee that is required. Now, if they are disabled or if it was a refinance and they were going to be paying off they're paying off that current loan, they're going to exempt. So it's going to automatically select exempted once we select yes for disability. If we were to select no, and it said it was going to select it to not exempted, it's going to automatically generate a funding fee for us. This is actually pretty accurate. Arive's funding fee calculations, they're pretty accurate. So if you wanted, if for some reason it wasn't accurate and you knew how to manually get that funding fee calculation, you can select the little switch and you can manually enter it in yourself also. So that's the VA loan, that's the VA info. Now we are going to save this, and you're going to see that we are back to blue check mark for loan and property. So we're good there, but we are still red on this VA loan tab. So let's go ahead and open the VA loan tab. And a couple things are going to come up on this. So you're going to see one thing that's red, but there is a couple things that please make notes on this. For VA entitlement, you can see the VA entitlement on their COE, their Certificate of Eligibility. If you know how to calculate VA entitlement, you can manually enter that in yourself, or you can just select calculated, and this will calculate it for you yourself. So we're good there. I'm going to select calculated. We got our entitlement listed. Scrolling down, so number 4, this one's super important. This calculates residual income. So what we want to do is it's going to ask us total square footage. All you need to do is go back to your little Zillow thing that you have, and you're going to get to the square footage of the house. So let's scroll down. And this one is 7,000 square feet. So let's copy this number and go back to our file. and you're going to enter in that square footage. Now it's going to calculate our residual income. If you have questions on what residual income is, please direct those questions to Blake. Also, I can assist in that. I can assist in that department, but please just
I'm good.
give those questions over to Blake. So we're going to click Save Changes on this. Now you're going to see that the blue check mark is going to pop up, and you're going to think that we're done, but we're not. You're gonna see that there's two different tabs on this VA loan info tab. So the next one is disclosures info. Nearest living relative, this is super important. We need this filled out. We need it. We're gonna need it at some point in the loan. So just completing this already when you're already in communication with your borrower in this setup process, we just want to get this information already done so we don't need to worry about it later. You just need the first name of the relative, the last name, relationship, phone number, and address. So making sure that's filled out and good, and then we're good to go on that one. So that all looks great. That is VA. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one is going to be HELOC. So for a HELOC, it looks a little bit crazy, I'm sure. It's going to say HELOC draw amount. It's going to say LTV, and you're going to see HELOC line amount. So with a HELOC, if you're not familiar, you get to select your line amount. So let's say the borrower wanted to do 150,000 as a line amount. Okay. The draw amount is whatever the borrower is going to pull out of that line amount. So they can pull the full 150,000 if they'd like, or they could pull less. It has to be 75% of the line amount that they have to pull out. So let's just say they're going to pull out all 150 of it. This is going to automatically calculate our LTV, and that is going to become our loan amount. When you select HELOC, it's automatically going to select the lien position as second lien, but you're going to see that we're still red. And the reason that we're still red on this page is because we need to fill out the subordinate liens. So they already have a mortgage. They're pulling out a HELOC. So what we want to do is we want to open up this subordinate lien info, the red, and we want to fill out the first mortgage's credit information. So let's say their creditor name was UWM. Say their monthly payment was $2,500 and their loan amount that they owed was I don't know, we're 50. And you can go ahead and save that, and that's going to then calculate our CLTV there through the subordinate liens. Please make sure this is done because this is actually super important, and CLTV is crucial for a HELOC. So once that's all done and all filled out, you can click Save Changes. And that's all. That's HELOC. The next one is going to be HELoan. So this is a little bit, people get these confused sometimes. A HELoan is it's a standalone. So it's a standalone second. It's not a standalone equity line of credit. Okay, so it's just going to have one loan amount. It's not going to have a line amount and a draw amount. So it's going to be the same thing here. You're gonna enter in your loan amount, and the subordinate liens is going to pop up, and it's going to be the same thing. You want to make sure you fill out your creditor information for the first lien, and it's as simple as that. And once you've completed all of that, you can click Save Changes, and your check marks will be blue again. So that's going to be all of the specific required fields. We went through the 1003. We went over how to invite the borrower, how to pull credit. We're going to go ahead and conclude this training. That's going to be our training on Arive Intermediate. Thank you guys all for taking a deep dive into Arive with me once again, and I look forward to our next two trainings. We are going to take the next 10 minutes to answer any questions anyone might have.
Savannah.
Yes. Hi, David.
Hi. Hey, you mentioned ordering COE through processing, what method would you like us to do that? Is that just the email?
For sure. Yeah, just send us an email. You can send it to me, actually,
Okay.
since I'm on the intake. You can send me the email. Don't feel the need to send it to submissions or anything. And we'll get that going for you. We'll just pull it. We'll probably throw it in Arrive, let you know when it's in there.
Okay. Sounds good. And then on the HELOC screen, if we order credit prior to filling out the HELOC stuff, will that auto-populate the current balance of the mortgage and the payment?
I'm glad you brought that up. So, actually, that's totally something I missed going over. Um, so with a HELOC, if you're doing it through UWM, yes, pull credit, liabilities need to be merged over, all of that good stuff. If it is through Spring EQ, which a lot of people tend to do their HELOCs through, do not pull credit. They pull their own credit. So when we get the loan, once you send the loan over to processing, all that needs to be filled out really on a Spring EQ. You might see a lot of red. That's okay. For those loans, that is okay. Um, just making sure that the loan information is up to date and correct, and we'll get everything once we get that loan into application setup status, and we'll pull credit for you. Anything else? Any other questions, you
Do you
guys?
know if they have an idea about putting when you're sending out the invites, multiple languages?
Anywhere. It has
That's a good
they don't have
question.
a scanner. It has a coded lock. So it must be. I mean,
Okay. Sorry, Jorge. Um, can you ask that question again? I couldn't hear you.
Do you know for when we're inviting clients to fill in the application, if they're gonna have multiple languages? Like for example, I work a lot of Spanish clients that I've been having to manually translate.
Got it. That's a great question. I'm not 100% sure. Let me get with my Arrive account executive and see if there's a way we could go about that. Maybe there's a setting I can select to change it to Spanish or different languages, whichever is needed. I will get back to you on that. I'm making note of that right now.
I noticed when there's a blue link for AVM. If you don't know the property value, can you use AVM or do you like still have to go to like Zillow and look at that?
No, you can use the AVM. You can use there's even in UWM if you want to just pull home value estimator, that one's really good too. You can check Redfin, you can use Zillow, whichever you want. The AVM check in Arrive is good too. Just an estimated value is totally fine.
Hi,
Anybody?
Savannah.
Hi,
Is
Gloria.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Just curious about the funding fee and the eligibility. Is that built arrive to calculate the percentage of the funding fee? And is that's gonna look at the amount of the loan and that calculates the
Yes.
funding fee and then as well as the eligibility?
Correct. Yes. It's going to go based
Okay.
off of the loan amount.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you recommend creating a test file in our own accounts with like maybe our own info and playing around with it?
I do 100%. Please, you guys actually do that. Utilize it as much as you can. Get familiar with the system. It makes things a lot easier when you're going through it, less questions that you feel that you need to ask. Because then, too, if you're going through a test file, if you come across something that you're not sure, give me a call, let me know. That way, as soon as you get a borrower and you're ready to go, you don't want to be stopped because you're not sure how to proceed and you have to call me and maybe I'm busy, you never know. So getting ahead of the game and trying to figure out Arrive beforehand is a great idea. Totally do a test file. Just name it test and make sure that the address is listed as TBD so it doesn't think it's a real file.
How much is a credit report?
it's 72. And that's per borrower, but if they're married, it's 72, just 72.
Hi,
So, so,
Savannah.
so
1 second, Gloria. What was your question?
I'm sorry, you said 72 per borrower And if they're married, it's still 72?
Yes, if they're married, it'll only pull one report. So
Okay.
yes, just 72. Yes, Gloria.
Oh, like when they're filling all this out in Arrive and we're using UWM, where would be the button that would like connect, or it just transfers to UWM the information that we input in Arrive?
So you're talking about the UWM portal. You're way ahead of the
Yeah.
game, girl. That's something we're gonna go over later on. That's like,
Okay.
yeah, don't
Okay.
worry about that right now. We'll go over on it later on. Don't get your if you need it right now for you have a client, then call me and I'll walk you through it. But
It's
other than
fine.
that,
I just
okay.
it's okay because I have done loans with UWM, and Kim was the one who did that, so I was just curious
Yes,
on where that is.
for
It's
sure.
okay.
Good question
Thank
though.
you.
If you could show us on the borrower information how to put both like a married couple and then two separate people, because for me that was
Yeah,
I didn't figure that one out till later, and I was about to pull credit. That's when I found out that was different.
totally. Give me 1 second. Let me share my screen. Okay, you guys can see my Arrive screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. So let's just start fresh so that way I can show you. Actually, we can just do it in this one. It's fine. So when you get the file over, let's say the borrower's filled everything out, and they selected married and they already entered in different applications. You can go to the borrower info tab and go to manage borrowers. Now, this is where it gets tricky. If the borrower so let's say they're both married, test file and testy file, okay, they're both married. If they both entered in 1003 separate applications, so you would see it would look like this. Let's say it's test file and then testy file. This means that it's two separate. This would account for not married. So this is what it would look like if you had multiple borrowers that are not married on your file. If they're going to be married, you would want to have it over here on co-borrower. Now, it's super easy if you want to just move them. You can just drag and drop. So this now they're married. This is a joint application, borrower and co-borrower. If they weren't married and it came across looking like this, primary and co, you can just drag it down and create its own separate 1003 application. So this is what keeps us from having to merge or unmerge credit. I think that's where you were going with it, Jorge. And it's super easy, just like that. You don't need to do anything else. And then you can just click save and you'll be good to go. Does that make
So
sense?
is married the same as domestic partners?
Yes. If they have financial financial credit liabilities together, so they have credit cards together or they have a mortgage together, then that would be considered same thing. It would be borrower and co-borrower. Anybody else?
I have a
These
quick
are great
question.
questions, you guys. Yes, Hortensia.
Sorry, I got another urgent call, and so I missed
You're
some of the training. I have
you're fine.
a couple, but just the husband is going to apply for the loan, but we need to pull both of their credits, correct? Um, so my question is, so in this case, would I add her as a co-borrower so I could pull the credit?
You can add her as a co-borrower and then you can delete her.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, very good. Thank you.
And if you have trouble with that, just call me and let me know.
I I appreciate it. Thank you so
Of
much.
course. Yeah. Perfect. Anybody else? We finished really early today, so I think we've had like 5 extra minutes, but
Will you send the link? Are you
of
able to?
course.
Thank you.
Yes. You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Of course.
So I joined just a few minutes late, and when I joined, you were you were at the send invite part, but
Okay.
I only joined a few minutes late, so I'm guessing there wasn't a whole lot that I missed. But what was the step before send invite?
There was nothing else. That was it. As soon as you get into the file, there's that invite borrower in blue button underneath the borrower's name in the top left-hand corner of the file.
Okay.
You just select that. You click that button.
Okay, so do you need to input all their information? Oh, obviously, their contact info so that it knows where to send it, right?
Yes, you'll want to have everything already entered in. I went over this. I don't know if you were in my training last week, but there is, I went over the leads and you can add them as a lead and it's the same exact process. So when you're adding them as a lead, all you need is their email and their phone number and their name. That way you can send them the application that way. And then when you're ready to make it into a loan file, you can convert it to a loan.
Okay.
And you're just going to want to select this checkbox, send invite, as simple as that. Anybody else? Great questions today, you guys.
All right.
Okay, I think we will go ahead and end early today. If you guys think of any other questions later on, just feel free to call me, email me, and let me know, and I'm happy to help. Next week's training will be the advanced training, so we'll be going over a lot of exciting things. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you all next week.
Thank
Have a
you.
good rest of your day.
Thank
You
you.
as well,
Bye.
Savanna. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.